D calling us from Iowa today. D, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Um, First of all, Dan, the violin can be a really rockin' instrument, and especially the electric violin. I think you would rock out on the protests and outdoors and stuff like that. Try to try looking up some Bob Dylan
Well,
Yeah,
and see if you can't jazz it up a little bit.
I can do some Bob Dylan. I am classically trained, but I also am pretty good at improvisation. Like most Taylor Swift songs are like in D major, so I can just kind of figure it out like pretty much then. I don't know.
Right.
It's an enjoyable thing. I haven't picked it up in a minute, but the problem I have, like just going on a tangent here again. I don't if to big movements. I don't want to draw attention to myself and be like, wow, look how cool this guy is for playing his instrument. You know what I mean? It's like that's what I don't want to give the vibe off of. But maybe if enough people tell me to do it,
Right.
I'll do it. But we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see. Anyway, D, what did you want to talk to us about
cool.
today?
So I wanted to push back on Mr. Voicemail on Israel,
Hmm.
and this has been a thorn in my butt for many, many, many years. Israel today has no um, it's got absolutely no resemblance, no analogy to ancient Israel. It's a secular democracy. It did not. It was not reformed, um, at least not the way the Bible said it was going to be. It's completely illogical and erroneous to point to the nation of Israel today uh, as fulfilled prophecy. And even if it was, um, the leaders of Israel are um, charged war criminals. And I think that I have advocated for literal decades that we need to pull back our our support of Israel as long as I think that they do have the right to protect themselves. Okay, what was it, October 6th,
7th.
October 7th,
Mhm.
2024. It was a horrible day. Um, Hamas and Hezbollah are also war criminals, but the damage that Israel has done over the last year and a half is unjustified, and I really take exception to people, you know, patting each other on the back to support Israel as long as they continue to act out of all proportion. And as long as Netanyahu leads that nation, I think we need to take a much harder line with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I was wondering what your
we've
thoughts
talked about
were.
this before because, and Ben's gonna give me, tear me a new one if I stray from this. But as a nonprofit, we have to be real careful with what we talk about, in particular with geopolitical situations like with Israel. There's a few things I think I'm safe to say. What I am safe to say, I think, is I think you can justify criticism of a state without being called racist, without being called Islamophobic or anti-Semitic. I think that you can, as you've mentioned, point out that Israel is allegedly a secular democracy, right? And you should be able to judge a secular democracy's actions on its own merits, and not for any of the people whose racial makeup or otherwise make up that political body. So yeah, I think there's a lot of discourse about what's happening over there, And I overall I agree with your feelings on the subject, right? Like there needs to be stronger condemnation for those who are doing unjust actions to people groups that have already been oppressed for a long period of time. And I think that's about as safe as I can be on that subject. I don't know. What do you think, Ben?
No, I think you've kind of expressed it well. If nothing else, it brings up the question of what is a proportional response. We're talking about meta ethics right now in the philosophy group, and I think that's a really significant one. It is something that's difficult. The U.S. reacted to 9/11 with a very bold action, to put it lightly, that resulted in a lot of collateral damage and civilian deaths. Was that justified? Was it not? Is the response that we're seeing from Israel to the tragedy on October 7th proportional or not? And I think oftentimes there have been charges placed in the International Criminal Court of Justice against Netanyahu and the other members of his administration, but ultimately those cases will be, to an extent, the arbiter of, was this proportional or not? And as like board member of the ACA, we're not going to make a declarative statement one way or the other. But what's happened over there is a tragedy in every possible way. It's not good. And I agree that, it would be great if the U.S. took a more active role in trying to quell what's happening. But
Yeah, I think what the situation does reveal to me, Ben, is that there are people who, in today's world, fellow Americans, who will justify heinous actions as long as they think, again, just the ends justify the means here. And there are some people who are really willing to go so far as to say that there are just some people groups that are not worthy of rights, that are not worthy of being alive or living in the places that they've been living for their entire lives or even generationally longer, because of prejudices that happen. I think this conflict has certainly shown me that. And it's so easy to make those kinds of judgments when you're far away from the conflict yourself, when you get to live in, as sometimes a hellhole as it is, but still a privileged nation as the United States, and see that we don't have to deal with missiles bombing our houses, or seeing the bodies of children out in the streets and the people that we love. So there is a darkness to humanity there, but there is also some good, because there are a lot of people that obviously feel the same way. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this, right? Feel the same way in terms of seeing that this is wrong and seeing that they're against what's going on, and would speak up about it. So I don't know. That's my thoughts there. What do you think, Dee?
I agree with both of you pretty much. 9/11, we all know that Iran had nothing to do with 9/11, and
True.
we know that the Bush administration the situation was just plain foolhardy from the word go. Bush wanted a reason to attack Iran. He made one up.
I think
The
you mean
reason we
Iraq.
didn't Iraq, yes, I beg your pardon. Thank
No
you.
problem.
The reason we were still stuck in Iran until 2022, was it? Was because Bush took the resources away from Afghanistan, which he had almost completed his mission. Before the mission was completed, he took those resources and put them in Iraq. That is what prolonged the entire, so we know, as far as 9/11, protecting ourselves, Afghanistan was justified, Iraq was not. And I think that could be compared to Israel's reaction to Hamas. So
yeah, again, Dee,
we've all put our
we are
foot in
very limited in
one
our
side or another.
commentary. We are very limited in our commentary
Yeah,
as
I
to the
understand.
geopolitical,
I understand. And
stuff there. And
yeah,
it's just
I
a bit
understand.
outside the scope.
My point is,
Yeah.
we've all put our foot in it at one time or another, but we need to stop sticking our head in the sand. We have no problems condemning Arab nations for the atrocities that they do. I think we need to at least do the same with Israel. And that was really all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Thanks for your thoughts on that, Dee.
Mm-hmm.
I again, not that I don't feel I don't feel similarly in most regards there, right? But it's
Huh.
it's
I
it's one
get
of
it.
those things.
I get it.
One of those things. The limitations of a nonprofit. But if you ever want to know my real thoughts, I'm available through other channels that aren't run by nonprofits, right? I don't know if I can comment much further other than what we've already said, Ben, unless you had some thoughts, Ben. But
no, I think we've covered it pretty well. It's not a great situation. I agree there should be equitability in the way that we treat various nations around the world, regardless of their ethnic or religious makeup and composition of those different countries and nations. And so I think you're pretty well on point on that.
Yeah, we certainly, if anything,
Oh,
shouldn't
I
support nation
appreciate.
states because of biblical prophecy. I'll tell you that much. How about that?
Yeah,
We'll end it on that note. Dee, thanks so much.
exactly.
Thanks so much for calling
taking
in.
my call and letting me put that out there. And you guys have a great night.